Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the emotional safety of everyone listening. Radiant Resilience often explores real stories of struggle, healing, and the human experience. Because of that, episodes may include sensitive or triggering topics. Specific topics for each episode are listed in the episode description, so please check there to determine if this conversation feels right for you today. This podcast is meant to offer connection, understanding, and shared humanity, but it is not a substitute for professional advice or support. If you find yourself needing help, please reach out to qualified professionals or trusted resources in your life. Your mental and emotional well-being matters deeply here. Thank you for your courage, your openness, and for joining me in this space of compassion and resilience. Hello again, friends. I am doing another From the Vault episode. This is another re-release that is really close to my heart. If you haven't listened to episode 6, which was my original solo episode on my infertility journey, listen to that one first. And this is from episode 8, which is me discussing my infertility journey and the possibility of being child-free after infertility. Not by choice, with my dear friend Carrie Hoskins. She is an incredible soul, and I've gotten to know her and get really close with her, and I just think she's amazing, and I really look up to her. She is child-free after infertility and has an amazing story herself. So her personal story is also, I believe, episode 18. So if you want to hear her personal journey, please go back to episode 18, listen to that. And this one is just a really close to my heart one. And I feel like after opening up my heart and soul to you guys a couple weeks ago, I thought this one would be appropriate to do a re-release of. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll see you in the next episode. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that some stories and discussions in this episode of Radiant Resilience may touch on sensitive and potentially triggering topics. These may include themes of infertility struggles and treatments, including IVF, miscarriage, stillbirth, emotional and physical pain associated with infertility, grief and loss, mention of medical procedures and medications, discussion of personal emotional trauma and coping mechanisms, family planning and the emotional toll of childlessness, relationship dynamics under stress, social isolation and exclusion related to infertility, unexpected pregnancy announcements and their impact on those struggling with infertility. Our goal is to share real-life experiences in a respectful and empathetic manner, offering insights into the complexities of the human spirit and the journey towards resilience. However, we understand that some content may be difficult for listeners. We encourage you to prioritize your well-being and discretion when deciding to listen. Please remember, this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice or support. If you find yourself needing assistance, we urge you to seek help from qualified professionals or trusted support systems. Your mental and emotional health is important to us. Thank you for your courage and for joining us in a space of understanding and compassion. Welcome back to Radiant Resilience, everyone. I am changing things up a little bit today, and this is a follow-up episode to my fertility journey episode. So if you haven't listened to that one, definitely go back and give that one a listen before you give this one a listen, because you could probably listen to it, but it'll make a lot more sense if you listen to the previous one. And I decided to ask my good friend Carrie to join me today. Carrie is a freelance writer based in Northern California. Her expertise is writing about infertility and the many tangents that radiate from that experience. Her trademark is vulnerable and authentic writing. After 8 years of trying to conceive, multiple miscarriages, working with surrogates, and delivering her stillborn daughter, she embodies all things grief and infertility based. And she and I actually did an episode where I interviewed her that has not aired yet. So watch out for that episode because it's really good. And yeah, so we're just going to chat today about fertility stuff. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on again. It was so fun the first time we talked. I was like, I gotta have her back. So
Agreed. I felt it too.
yeah. So I don't know. We were talking a little bit before we hit record about how to structure this one. I think we're just gonna have conversations. I've had a lot of people ask questions about the actual IVF journey, about support and friends. So what do you think? Where should we start?
I recently listened to your sharing your story, and I didn't know all the bits and bobs. And I feel like you'd given me like a small overview, but listening to it all in once was a lot. And I almost could feel it in your voice of it was a lot. And while I didn't do as many medical things that you did, like I know so many of those emotional things that come up. And at least for me, and I hope you don't take this in the wrong way, of just not feeling enough. Like I
Mhm.
didn't feel I was like I was going to be enough until I was a mother. That was the
Mhm.
reality of it. And just trying so hard to get to that space. And I think that is something that many people dealing with infertility can resonate with. And I know there's some that have not, that don't feel that way, but most people that I have interacted with absolutely feel that way.
Yeah, it's really hard because I feel like I don't know. The majority of my life, I've thought I was just going to have kids. And not that I wasn't one of those people that my main purpose in life was to be
Same.
going to be a mother. It was, but I
Yes.
just like always knew I was going to have a family and have kids. That was always in the back of my mind. I wasn't somebody that was like, no, I'm never having kids. So then when that changes or doesn't happen or you struggle, it's just, I feel like I'm in a chapter now of self discovery and trying to figure out what a new purpose of life would be.
Yes. I think that is honestly a magical space to be in, but it's also really scary.
Yeah. And just so
Yes.
hard, so
Yes.
hard. Like I struggle with it and it changes by the hour.
Yes. Yes. Who
Like,
knows what the day is going to bring? And it still feels that way. And I think that this is one of those things in life that life is going to do this to you, I think, no matter what you deal with. This
mhm,
just happens to be our shared experience.
yeah.
And as in many ways, like if you've never gone through it, it's really hard to understand or support somebody going through it. And I know mothers go through it in their own way, but I don't know what that's like because I'm not a mother. And so
Yeah.
it creates this weird divide that it's of course not wanted, but it was there for me at least. And I felt very left out and out of the club. I always felt like motherhood was a
Mm,
club I could not get into. And a lot of my friends are mothers, and it was hard to grow with them.
yeah, absolutely. It's really tough. I know you said you had some questions for me. Maybe we'll dive into those first and then I can tackle some of the other stuff.
Yeah. So after listening to your episode, I was specifically thinking, were you in therapy for the duration of that?
No. So when I first started it, I had the mentality of this is just going to work. There's nothing wrong with me because we were actually diagnosed unexplained infertility,
Okay.
which is an actual diagnosis that is an infuriating diagnosis. I mean,
Yeah,
it's all
because what does
infuriating,
that
but
mean? But there's no
there's,
answers. Yeah. There's
yeah,
no guide, there's no map,
there's no specific thing to target to say this is what's wrong and this is how we fix it. So yeah, when we first did all the testing and everything, and even still to this day, I think that our doctor would classify us as unexplained infertility. And yeah, I just went into it with this is just going to work and then I'm going to get pregnant. I had no idea the trauma it was going to cause either. I think IVF seems so simple, really.
seems like it's straightforward. Like IVF would equal a baby. I'll do these medical things that will get me the results that I want. And that's not always the case. And I was so certain it was going to work. I was
Yeah.
so certain that this is like, oh, now we're spending all this money, which also puts in another factor
Oh,
into
for
it.
sure. Yeah. Down the road, I did seek out a fertility specialist therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a lovely person, but I felt like all I was doing was going and sitting in her chair and crying and paying a lot of money for it. And I didn't really get a lot of tools. I wanted tools and things to
Mm-hmm.
do because
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much an open book about a lot of this. And I feel like I can talk to friends, family pretty openly. I'm not burying it. I'm not that type of person.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I just was like, I could talk to my sister about this, or I could talk to a
Mm.
friend, or I could, even though they don't necessarily, they're not walking your shoes, so they don't know exactly that. It felt like I wasn't getting anywhere.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I also had a fertility specialist therapist, and it was more towards the end of our journey, but I did get a lot of tools from her. So it's interesting to hear you say that. But obviously they're different therapists. But I specifically went in saying I need tools on how to handle all of these emotions. I didn't know what I was doing. But for those first 4 or 5 years, no therapist. I was like, I don't need one. It's going to work. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. And you're always on that, like the next step. So it wasn't even like a lot of time to sit and process what
Yeah.
you're dealing with.
And I think I distracted myself with the next steps all the
Oh,
time.
absolutely.
And I didn't realize that until significantly later,
Same.
actually, probably like a year ago. And then I was like, oh, I thought I was processing and I wasn't even close to
Yeah, I remember at one point thinking like, I'm really good at this. I had a really tough time, but I'm just bouncing right back. And now I'm like, oh, that was you absolutely avoiding many of your feelings.
But it's really interesting because when you have the next thing set, like whether it's another cycle you're going to go into or whatever, it just feels okay. Now I'm just preparing for that.
Yeah.
And it gives you a little bit more hope because you're like, okay, we're going to give this another shot. It could work this time. This is the time it's going to work, all of those things. And then you ignore the healing of the trauma, which I think is
Oh,
where I'm at
absolutely.
now, is
Mm-hmm.
trying to heal from the trauma and actually deal with the shit without having something planned in the future.
Yeah, it's different. It feels different. How does that feel different for you? What does that feel like?
Hi, friend, and welcome to this episode of Radiant Resilience. We are always looking for new guests on the podcast. I want to highlight you if you have a story of resilience that inspires others. Everyone has a story, and I believe that sharing yours can help others feel less alone. Are you ready to share your journey and inspire others? I want to hear from you. Every story has the power to impact lives and foster a supportive community. If you have a tale of overcoming adversity, personal growth, or a unique perspective on life's challenges, I would love to have you as a guest on the podcast. To become a guest, please email us directly at radiantresiliencepodcast@gmail.com or click the link in the show notes to become a guest. Join us in spreading hope, strength, and inspiration one story at a time. Be brave and share your story so others feel less alone. I hope to see you soon. Well, terrifying and hard, like all of it. Yeah, it's tough and it changes by the hour. Like 1 minute, I'm like, okay, I'm okay with the way that life is. It's great. If we don't have kids, everything's going to be fine. And then the next minute, I'm like, no, I'm not okay with this. And I don't want it to be like that. But what can I do next? And I don't know.
I think that was really hard for me, not knowing how much it changed of because you feel that emotion. Okay, this is what's going to feel like for the next, honestly, like 3 days. And it's
Yeah.
not like that. And that was really unsettling for me. It was like, where do I stand? What's my foundation? How do I support myself?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just having a conversation with my husband this weekend and I just kept talking about all the feelings that I've been feeling and all the confusion that I'm feeling and all the things. And he's, that's okay. That's normal. You have to feel all the things. And I'm like, but I don't want to anymore. I don't want to feel angry anymore. I don't want to feel jealous anymore. I don't want to grieve it anymore. I do miss the days prior to starting trying for children where I really didn't care.
Oh, 1,000%. Oh my gosh.
I didn't care who got pregnant. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
care unless it was like, oh, so-and-so got knocked up. But I didn't care. And I remember people like being like, it's your turn. Like you need to, and I'd be like, no, not yet.
Because you met your husband very young. So
High
you guys were
school.
together for a very long time, not trying to have
Right.
babies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming people were like, when are you gonna have kids? And
Mm.
that wasn't it didn't what how is that different from what you felt later? Because that's a totally different person, probably.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, I had no problem being like, not yet. We're not there yet. And people were asking us when we got engaged. Like the minute I hadn't even gotten married, and they're like, so when are you guys gonna have kids? And I'm like, can I get married first? And then think about that. I was also like 25 years old when we got
Right.
married. So I was just like, no, not yet. And then, yeah, as more and more people started in my friend group and stuff started trying to get pregnant and were getting pregnant, I still was like, no, it's not, we're not there yet, but we're close. And then as we started, I had one friend I remember specifically who sent me a text saying that she was pregnant and then said, it's your turn. And I had been trying for a few months at that time, naturally. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, it's a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was the first time I remember being like, okay, this is
Oh,
very fun now. And then yeah, at work, I'll get new clients now that are like, so do you have kids? And I just dread the question because I know
yeah.
it's coming in every conversation.
Yeah.
And do you have kids? And I'm like, no. And then I wait for did you not want kids or did
Uh-huh.
you? And then what I got a couple times, which was interesting, was like, I'd say something like vague, oh, it's just been a difficult process or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And people are like, you wanted them and your husband doesn't?
Oh, wow. I've never got that one.
And I was like, I had that a few times. And I was like, no, actually, we both desperately want them. It's just not worked out. And I've done 5 million rounds of IVF and then you spiral into the whole thing.
I'm gonna cry now because I
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely changed for sure.
and
From
did you have friends along the way that you stayed friends with
So
that
yes, I have a multitude of friend stories. One friend I am still very close with. She's amazing. We actually met on Facebook,
oh
but she
wow.
also lives in Colorado. And we were going through our very first egg retrievals at the same time. And we met in like a support group on Facebook, realized we lived in the same state, and we just really connected. And she has now been successful with she has 2 kids from that one egg retrieval. And she's just always been extremely sensitive to what I've gone through. And anytime she's talked to me, like if she was having a hard pregnant day, she'd message me and be like, are you in a good place to, I guess it wasn't necessarily, she never really complained to me about being pregnant. That's true. It would be like, are you in the mood for hearing baby things, pregnancy things, kid things? And she still to this day does that.
I think that simple asking
Mhm.
is means so much. Like it
Yes.
makes me a lot more okay with it. Of wow,
Yes.
you're that simple question just like acknowledges that you know that I might not be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And acknowledging that what I've been through is hard and that my emotions are valid. I will more than likely never say no unless
Right,
I'm in
same.
a very dark
Right.
place.
Hmm.
But being asked and acknowledged is super helpful, I think, as far as that goes. And then I had one friend who we we became friends outside of fertility first, and then I started doing her hair. And then I found out that she'd been struggling to get pregnant for years. She found out that I had been struggling. And then I went through IVF first, and she watched me go through IVF. And she had at one point said, I'm too afraid to do IVF, blah, blah, blah. And then watched me go through it and was like, oh, maybe I could do that. So then she went through IVF. And when she got pregnant with one of her embryos, we talked a little bit through the pregnancy. I said, keep me in the loop. I would text her and be like, how are you feeling today? Because that's another thing is I won't ask if I'm not in
Hmm.
a good place. So if I'm
Hmm. Hmm.
asking, it's okay to talk to me about it because.
I'm initiating it. Yeah.
Mhm. And then once she had the baby, I didn't hear from her. And she's now since had another one. That one was a really tough one to lose because I leaned on her a lot through all my IVF stuff and that whole journey. And to lose that friend And I don't know, she probably has a different version of the story, but
Mm-hmm.
to me, it was like she moved on to the club
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I still wasn't in it. And I don't know if she just didn't know what to talk to me about anymore. But it's wild because you would think people that have been through it would know regardless.
Yeah. It's still, I don't know, it's still weird. I remember my therapist asking me one time, do you feel like it's easier when somebody in the community gets pregnant than somebody out of the community? And I was
Mm.
like, no, it feels the same. Like it still hurts.
I think
And
now I feel that way. I think if you would have asked me earlier on in my IVF journey, I think I would have said that I was happy for the people who had struggled because I think it
mm,
A gave me hope at the time.
mm-hmm,
And B, I was like, oh, yay, like you finally did it. Yay, another person to move on. But
mm-hmm,
you ask me now, and it's very different because since I didn't even have success with IVF, I feel a little bit of not animosity, jealousy. It's jealousy, is what it
mm-hmm,
is towards
mm-hmm,
everyone that's had success,
mm-hmm,
regardless.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I recently made a post about jealousy online, and
Mm,
somebody was like, it's not really jealousy, it's grief. It's not really jealousy, it's something else. And I'm like, you can look at it that way, but also I felt like when I owned that jealousy, I was able to feel more powerful because of it, because no one wants to feel that. It doesn't feel
no.
good. And it seemed like from the comments, granted, I don't know these people personally, but they were like, there's something underlying it. Yeah, but also it was just as simple as that, like, they got a baby and I didn't. And
Hmm.
yes, there was anger and, of course, grief, but part of grief can be jealousy. Those two can go hand in hand. And it it was interesting seeing that. It was like, okay, if like you're trying to diminish what I felt, but clearly you're not comfortable with jealousy. And I wasn't for many years either. I acted like I was not jealous. I was so supportive and showed up for many friends and then would come
Mm.
home and cry for 3 days and didn't want to leave the house. And
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I'm not being myself. I'm shoving things down and not letting it out. So I feel like acknowledging that jealousy is real is a
Hmm.
huge step in the right direction. Nobody wants to feel it, but it's still it has a name because it's a real thing. Other people have felt this.
I feel like it's very separate from, it can be in conjunction with grief, but it's definitely, to me, grief, anger, jealousy, they're all three different things that can work together in
Hmm.
a tumultuous trio.
Yes.
But they're still very different emotions to me individually.
Yes. And I being able to like, I think almost put them in a box was able for me to, okay, I can take out this box when I need it.
Mm.
And I would look up like tools on how to work with specific emotions and with
Mm.
my therapist and was able to like deconstruct it a little bit. But
Yeah.
I didn't even use the word jealousy for probably like the first 6 years of my infertility of nope, that's not, I'm not jealous. I'm so happy for them. And I wasn't. I wasn't.
It's really hard to acknowledge. It has been a hard thing to acknowledge. And I am happy for all of my friends. I don't want anybody to have to go through
No,
what I've been
this. No.
through because it's awful, but I'm jealous and I'm
Mhm.
sad for my own situation. Those are all the feelings that come up. More, I'm sad and I'm angry.
Mhm.
It's a very deep rooted anger at this point in time. I just immediately go to the anger page of mad at the universe and mad
Mhm.
at the circumstances. And it really has nothing to do with my poor friends.
Totes. Yeah,
You
it's not really
know?
about you. And that takes almost like it'll take away from their experience, but we're all just doing our best, living our own like narratives. And that anger is valid. I think it would almost be weird if it wasn't there.
Yeah. Does it go away? For those listening that, because we have not touched on Carrie, Carrie has been out of her fertility journey for 5 years. Is that what you told me?
4 years, 4 years. Yeah.
4 years, her and her husband decided to walk away from treatments and pursuing it still. And she's been living child free, which is how I found her on Instagram. So, yeah, she's a lot further along in that healing process than I am. So, does it change? Does it get better?
It does get better. I will say
Okay.
that. What's that quote? Yeah, like it doesn't get better like you get better. There's
Mm.
just like
Ooh.
things like it's the triggers are still there and I still get upset and I'm still not friends with a lot of friends from my past because of this situation in my life, but also like I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. The
Mm.
past like 2 years specifically have been
Okay.
like genuine happiness. I saw someone this past week and they said, I feel like you've been just like progressively glowing. And I was like, I
Oh,
feel that.
yay.
But it was a lot of therapy and a
Mhm.
lot of sitting in those really
Mm.
gross moments of I'm so mad, I'm so jealous, I'm so sad.
Mhm.
And it dissipates, but I also like I don't like the oh well, like time heals all wounds.
Mm.
No, because sometimes the baby section in Target still does make me cry. That's real.
Mm.
But not as much as it used to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Well, and I think like a big part of that is I've filled my life with other things.
Yeah.
And like most of my friends, if they have children, they're done having children because I'm in my early 40s. And it's just it's like a different chapter. It definitely feels like a different chapter. There's different things happening, and most of the people in my life now know what I'm like. If you follow me on Instagram, you know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And I've met most of my new friends through Instagram, so it's oh, I know your story. I don't even have to like say it, which
Yeah.
is nice. But not everybody lives like out loud like that, which I think
Yeah.
is totally fine. But you might have to fill in the gaps for people
Yeah.
if that's the kind of relationship that you want.
Yeah, friendships are tough through this, and a lot
Yes.
of mine have changed. I have kept quite a few, and I have a couple of really great friends that have kids that are still very sympathetic. And then
Mm-hmm.
I've had a few over the years that just did not know how
Mm-hmm.
to deal with me or talk to me or not. And they didn't cut me out necessarily. It's just been hard conversations, basically.
Hmm. I feel like I was cut out by a group
Mm.
of friends, and that was like the hardest breakup that I feel like I ever dealt with.
Hmm.
But then I've also had friends that would ask, "Are you available or open to hearing about these things?" And those friendships are the ones that lasted,
Hmm.
and we were able to grow together. And I love their kids, and I'm a part of their life. And I think it just depends on the relationship and like how much you're willing to work on it. Because I do not like conflict. Like
Same.
addressing the problem sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it gives me so much anxiety.
But with the right people, it's okay. I have to do this. Like I have to put on my big girl panties and be like, I'm uncomfortable or I don't really want to do that. Because especially like with baby showers or kids' birthdays, like a lot of the times I don't want to go, but I still want to be invited. Like I still want to be included. And I think
Yeah.
that they're like, oh, I didn't invite you because I don't want to hurt your feelings. It's like, actually, you not inviting me also is just like making this messier.
Yeah, so I recently had a friend within the last, she's actually, I think she's due this summer, but who texted me and said that they were pregnant. And I really don't know how to navigate this with you, which was amazing, full transparency.
Right.
Mm.
Because it's real.
Yeah. And she was like, I don't know how to navigate this. I'm just going to let you take the lead on this one. And so
Mm.
after I had my big cry moment that we have,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
she texted me too, so I didn't have to respond right
Which
away.
is the right thing to do. You need to text and don't
Mhm.
tell us in public.
Yes, yes. Don't tell me face to face. Don't tell me because you don't want to see that reaction.
Yeah, you don't.
And then I texted her this big long thing back after I thought about it a lot. And I was like, I won't ask if I'm not in a good place. So if I do ask you how you're doing and I ask you pregnancy questions, please answer them just normally.
Hmm.
And I said, don't exclude me. Don't
Hmm.
leave me out. And that was one of my number one things. And although I know that's hard to navigate for people who have never walked in our shoes, that is the best thing you can do for me is not exclude me. And there
Right.
have been so many situations where I feel like I got excluded. Same thing. I didn't get invited to baby showers, which I'm not mad at anybody for because I understand that the people are trying to be sensitive. They're trying
Hmm.
to be
Hmm.
understanding. It's that I didn't get to decide on that.
Right,
Somebody
that's the thing.
decided my emotions for
Yes,
me.
that is a very good way to put that. Like you're being pushed out and you don't have any say in it.
Yeah. And I want to send gifts. I want to
Of
go buy
course.
gifts for people.
Hmm.
That's one of my love languages.
Same. Same.
And how am I supposed to know where you're registered if you don't send me a baby shower invitation?
And I often got a lot of pity, and I
Mm.
hate pity. Don't you dare pity me. Like my life is fabulous. And I feel like that pity face. I remember after I delivered my stillborn daughter and going back to work, so
Oh.
many people that pity face. And I remember telling one of my coworkers, I'm so tired of this face. And she helped me navigate a lot. Like I would go to her classroom if I like needed a break and people would ask her questions, maybe not me. And she was like, okay, what face should they give you? And I was like, ooh, I don't really have an answer for that, but it's not that face. Can we just be normal? And I get it. Especially, I think it was hard too when like people that I didn't really know would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Or not even saying I'm sorry. Because when you say I'm sorry, the pity falls away, I feel like.
Mhm.
But it was just like, oh, and they have that droopy face, and you're like, oh God, so I am pitiful because that's how I feel at the moment. And
Mm.
it's not what at least that's not what I wanted. Like
Yeah.
I still was happy and I was grieving, but also I was still a happy person.
So, one of the things that I think is really helping me now is for people, as far as other people supporting me, is being normal.
Mm.
Like being as normal as
Say
possible.
more about that. What does that mean?
So I had a situation at the salon where one of the girls ended up pregnant and she came in. She was newer, so she had no idea of my story or anything like that. We didn't really
Like
know each other that well.
coworker or client?
Coworker, sorry.
Okay.
Yep. And so she tells everybody she's pregnant. And everybody was like, oh, don't say anything to Tawny. Don't say. And this was
Mm,
literally
mm,
within the
mm,
last,
mm,
she just had her baby recently. So within the
mhm,
last 9 months or so.
mhm.
And it became this thing.
Yep.
Right. And just like I had a similar situation recently, as I mentioned earlier, about my friend, ex-friend who got pregnant and nobody told me about it. And I think because everybody was like, oh no, do we tell Tawny? Do we not tell Tawny? We probably shouldn't tell Tawny.
And then what? You're just gonna figure it out on your own? Like
Right.
when
And as I was talking through this, I feel like the best way for me to move forward is for everybody to just be normal because I
Mhm.
will never find that normal if nobody treats me like normal
If
at
everyone
some point.
pushes me out, I don't feel normal. I feel othered and it doesn't feel
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And just having that normalcy of, yeah, it's still gonna hurt.
Hmm.
Regardless of how anybody does it, it's gonna hurt. I'm gonna be upset probably a lot of the time. But if everybody's just normal, I will just be my normal self and then I will go have my cry moment in my car if I need.
Hmm. Hmm. But
But
tell me,
yeah, tell
but
me, be honest with me, just talk about it like normal. Not that I want to be in a room full of people talking about their kids and stuff like that. But if I literally in that moment cannot handle it, I will leave.
exactly. And that gives you the choice, like you mentioned earlier,
Yes.
of you get to have the choice instead of somebody else being like, oh, we have to take care of you because you can't handle this. It's cool. I can't get pregnant, and now you don't think I can handle my emotions. And while that might be true, let me make that choice and
Yes.
have that ownership about myself. And I feel like it shows respect when somebody does that, of I respect you enough to have this hard conversation with you.
Yeah.
Or text. I prefer a text, but
Yeah, absolutely
yeah.
a text. But yeah, for those who are looking for more advice on support and how to support somebody maybe further along in their fertility journey, like we are, normalcy, like I said, it's going to hurt either way. It's going to
Yes.
hurt whether you tell me, whether you don't tell me. And it's not you telling me that's hurting. It's just my situation that's hurting.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, I find it very difficult that people are tiptoeing around me, are walking on eggshells around me. And while, like I said, I know it's well intentioned, I get where they're coming from, it doesn't help.
And at least for me, I feel like there's a hierarchy in it of, oh, because in my eyes, I wanted to be higher up. And I use this word loosely, but in my life that I planned, I am not as far along as I thought I would be.
Mm,
And so I felt very much less than of, oh, we can't tell Carrie because she's going to have hurt feelings and she's not a mother yet, so she won't understand. And while correct, I might not understand and it might hurt my feelings, I still want to feel like an equal in the group
yes.
and not, oh, she's not included. She can't handle this because then it makes me feel bad. And it also says a lot about our friendship of if you can't bring me along. Because how am I supposed to know if no one tells me when her bump starts showing? Like that doesn't feel appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had told people too when they got pregnant, they were like, I don't really know, what to do, or I want to be sensitive to you. Then I told them, I'm like, believe it or not, I want to be a support to you.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is hard for me sometimes, you're
Mm-hmm.
still my friend. And
Absolutely.
I want to be a support to you however you need. And I may not be able to be that exact friend that
Mm-hmm.
understands pregnancy and all of those things, but I want to be some type of a support to you. I want to love you. You are my friend. I want to be there for you. And I I feel less than and I feel cut out if you don't share those things with me. And that becomes such a big part of people's lives, obviously,
Yes.
their kids. But
Yes.
then if you cut me out and you just never talk to me about it, then we're never going to have anything to talk about. And that's how the friendship ends.
Yes. Which feels bad.
Yeah,
And not all friendships last for our life.
sure.
That's real, but it just is really hard when this type of breakaway happens, when it's nobody knew what to say and it's, oh, because you were like trying to take care of me. It was such a big question mark because that's not how it was received. And
Hmm.
again, it's might not how it was intended, but we can all flip the script on that and think if we were the other person in the situation, nobody wants to be left out.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I've dealt with more recently too, is just I don't want to feel left out.
Hmm.
I don't want to be excluded. Let me decide what I can and can't handle.
Yes.
And that's why I think
Well,
asking is huge.
yes, yes. And I do know that like I had quite a few more like acquaintance level friends of I don't think they wanted to be around me because
Mm,
I was not living maybe their form of lifestyle. I don't know how to say it, but just oh, since I would never understand because I don't have kids. But it's all I
mm.
don't know, which is sure, but
Some stuff,
also
sure.
yeah, some stuff sure, but also I still am a functioning, stable adult that can bring things to the conversation.
Yeah.
And I was an educator for so long. Actually, I got a degree in children.
Yeah.
I do have stuff to bring to the table, but it was often like, I don't want to hurt your feelings. And it was like, do you think my students hurt my feelings? Sometimes I did, but also it's not about that. And it was like, at least for me, with a lot of friendship that didn't make it, there were other things that were underlying our
Yeah.
friendship
Sure.
anyways. And this was what snapped it, but also some friends it brought us closer. So
Hmm.
it's I don't know. And it takes two people to come to the table,
Yeah.
but it's often I feel like the emotional labor of it is often, at least how I felt, put on me because again, I wasn't the one getting celebrated and I had to be like a
Mhm.
bystander of a supporter. And it's like you said, I still sometimes wanted to be there.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
know what? Maybe at some point I'll be able to suck it up and go to baby showers.
Sure, maybe. I don't
Right?
know. Yeah, I don't
Maybe
ever have
not,
any
but
plan
maybe.
on it, but also I don't know. One of my friends got divorced a few years ago and she said, I never want to go to a wedding again. And I'm like, that's super
Oh,
real. That's real. Like I
yeah.
get that. And then it was funny because I told her I might never go to a baby shower again. And she said, maybe later. And I was like, then maybe you'll go to a wedding later. And she was like, oh, I don't like that. And I'm like, see, that's what it
Same feelings, different scenarios,
feels like.
same
Exactly.
feelings.
Yes.
I know it's funny when people are like, "Oh, I don't want to." It's not really the same thing, and I'm like, "But it's a lot of the same feelings. A
Yeah.
lot of the same feelings." Yeah, yeah. It's so hard to navigate, and I understand. I feel for the people around me. I really do.
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge that everybody. Most of the time, their intentions are pure. They want to be
Yes.
helpful. They want to be sensitive. They want to do the right thing. They want to say the right thing. But what I've really worked on now is I'm not mad at those people. Like when I get
Yeah.
upset about those things and the way things are handled, if they're not handled well, I used to feel like I got more upset with that person. And now I'm like, no, their intentions are good.
Yes. Yes.
And it's just the sucky situation of how it happened.
Yes.
You and I talked about this. I had a situation this last weekend where I found out an ex was pregnant again. And I had found out that 5 or 6 people knew about it before one of them finally had the guts to tell me about it. And it was just, I don't know, it was just so difficult to feel left out.
Yeah.
And my husband, when I was explaining it to him, because he's a guy and he's practical and I don't understand. You don't talk to this girl anymore. Why do you care if she's pregnant? Like, it's not even that at this point. Like, it
Right.
wasn't even that. It was the fact that all these people knew and purposely did not tell me.
Yes.
And that is
Yes.
something that I'm really struggling with currently as well, because I think it's the same thing. Their intentions were good. They don't want to upset me, but it's also something I'm going to find out eventually.
Yeah, that's very real. It's so I was left out.
Mhm.
I was definitely left out. And I shared with you how I also had something almost exactly similar, and my husband knew. And I remember because I stopped following this person on social media. And when I like stalked him on social media one day and then was like, oh my God, they have a second baby. And I told
Mhm.
my husband, and he was like, oh yeah, I knew, which I was like, you knew? Like you didn't say anything? And he was like, I just assumed you knew because we don't really talk about this person anymore. And I was like, I did not know. And his face was like, oh, I didn't like, I'm sorry. But it was like, I would have said something if I knew.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a part of the conversation I was having with my husband about this. He said the same thing. I don't want to say anything to upset you. I
Yeah.
don't want to do that to you. I don't want to, and I'm sure that's what everyone else is thinking.
But it's someone just tell me. Like one of my best friends who does not want children got pregnant and didn't tell me and decided to have an abortion and was like really afraid to tell me. But we hang out almost every day,
Oh,
and she
wow.
had taken a week off because she wasn't feeling well because she was having an abortion. And when she told me, she have to tell you something, and in my head I'm like, you're fucking pregnant. I know that line. I know that I have to tell you
Mhm.
something. And I was like so angry that she was gonna have a baby.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I got pregnant and I had an abortion. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you went through that. And she has other support. So I didn't feel like she was alone, but I was like, that must have been hard to tell me. And she was like, I just, I don't know how you feel about this aspect of it. And I
Mm,
was like, that's not my baby. So I don't feel like you're taking something away from me.
yeah.
And I was like, honestly, I'm stoked you're not having a kid. So we can still be in this circle because that would change. It changes
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Hard to navigate.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a few friends whose husbands have had vasectomies now, and it is like the most relieving thing of my life.
Jobs. Oh, thank God.
Like, oh, that's one less pregnancy announcement I have to worry
Hmm.
about down the road. So selfish feeling, but like it's
I mean,
so
but it's
honest.
real. And I feel like everybody has these different types of selfish feelings. Probably people with kids want people with kids
Yes.
in their life, right? Another one of my best friends who said that she would never have kids did got pregnant and had one kid. And that was really, I was like, oh, you're my safe person.
Yeah.
And she still is. We had to work through it. And she was very open of, I don't know how to do this. Again, acknowledging that nobody knows what we're doing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think with the friendships that didn't make it, there was no acknowledgement of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of, oh, I'm gonna try to fix you. Oh, I got you these herbs and these
Mm-hmm.
acupuncture appointment. And I'm like, oh, so I'm broken. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what it feels like. And so I think when the
Yeah.
people in my life didn't try to fix me and just were honest,
Yeah.
and by saying, I don't know how to do this, was super helpful.
And just be there when I need to cry with
Yes.
no judgment
With
too.
no judgment. Yes.
Just be there when I need to let it all out, when I want to be angry and say not very nice things.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I just need to get it out. If you're
Yes.
somebody I can do that with, just listen and make it be okay.
And it's hard when that space isn't available because for me, it
Mm,
was available for so long with that person. And then once
mm,
they got pregnant, it was like, oh, I can't talk about that anymore with you.
yeah.
And it was like, okay, so I guess we're not really friends anymore.
And I think that's part of it. I do think that there is something to be said about the friendships that have gone to the wayside for me, that I can't have those conversations. I can't
Hmm.
sit there and talk about what baby formula is best for your kid. And I
Nope.
can't talk about what school's better and what teachers are better. And I can try,
Hmm.
but
And
I can't relate to
like, I'll give you like a few minutes of the conversation because that's a cordial,
them.
nice thing to do. Sure, what's how your kids are doing. If the kids are in school, I can talk about that because I was a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
But if we're going past 5 minutes about like the formula, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I don't this is all like a different language to me and I don't really want to learn it. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah. There's some stuff, like you said, how are the kids doing? How's
yeah.
school going? How's sports
What
going?
yeah, what books are they
Whatever.
into? Like we
Yeah.
can there's yeah,
Yeah.
but it's an interesting space when it's that's the whole conversation because the
Yeah.
whole conversation of my life is not just about being child free. Granted, I talk about my activities that do not include children, but it is not like solely focused on no children.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, yeah, interesting.
It is
Yeah.
interesting.
And it always amazes me the people that can bring the conversation back to it every
I know.
time too when
Every
you
time.
try to change the subject.
But I will say I've made some new friends recently and they have children. My husband actually mentioned this. He said, I feel like they have so many things outside of motherhood that
Yes.
like for the first few times we met, I didn't know they had children. Which when I
Oh,
found out they did, I was like, oh, you have children? And they're like, yeah, but clearly it wasn't their whole life wasn't just about that. And I just want to start by saying, obviously, your life needs to be about your children. That's how you
yes.
raise good humans.
100.
But we talked about art and books and music, and I didn't know they had children. And it was like so shocking. And I remember my husband being like, I've never met people like this before. And now we hang out with them all the time with
Yeah.
their kids
Yeah.
because it's not the only identity that they have.
Yeah. And I understand that's also a difficult thing that women go through when they
Absolutely.
have babies is losing their identity and getting fully caught up in that role and not doing the things they enjoy anymore. And I do want to acknowledge that because I do understand that is a very difficult thing as well.
And I imagined myself as at least attempting to be like a Pinterest mom, like
Hmm.
doing all the things. Like I fed into that. I wanted that. So that's also, I think, a valid space to be in.
Yeah.
It's just not necessarily the space I want to be surrounded by myself or surround
Yeah.
myself with.
Yeah. At this point. Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's tough.
that was a big change. I didn't necessarily, of course, I didn't expect this, but also, I don't know, it was interesting to experience like that shift in myself of, okay, if I'm not going to be the Pinterest mom, I
Mm,
need to do something else with my life.
yeah. Yeah, which is really hard to figure out what you like to do when you're
Oh
in
yeah.
late 30s or late
Yeah. I
40s.
quit my teaching job. I changed careers.
Mhm.
I drastically changed a lot of my life because I was like, I needed something in me to change. And so
Yeah.
I was like, and I think because I felt so out of control for so long
Hmm.
that I was like, I want to do the things that I've always wanted to do. And that's what has led me to s- the happiest I've ever been.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I can't wait to get to that point. Someday. Yeah, I'm going to change gears a little bit here.
Yes.
I do want to get these questions answered about just about my process
Hmm.
versus the emotional things. So a little bit more practical. So I did have somebody ask me that it seemed like I was referred to IVF quite quickly. So usually, I don't know what your process was, but because was your guys' male related initially?
Yes. Initially, yes.
Okay.
But then it turned out it was both of us. But
Yeah.
yes, initially, yes.
Yeah. So I think so that was for us, as I explained in that the previous episode, we had gotten the semen analysis that came back with 0% morphology.
Mhm.
And so a lot of doctors were like, well, or the few we talked to, I guess, they were like, don't waste your time with IUIs
Mhm.
because the sperm is the problem. So if
Yes.
the sperm is the problem, a lot of the times they'll skip the IUI process.
Which is
I
what we did.
did.
Yes.
Mhm. So,
Mhm.
and that's what we did too. But I will say we did choose that route because the two other semen analyses that my husband had were normal. So those
Mm.
two other doctors had said, let's start with IUIs. And we just looking into the statistics
Yeah.
of IUIs working or not working, we just decided to go to the big guns. Because
Yes.
I had also known people that had put thousands of dollars into IUIs
Mhm.
and then had to do IVF anyways.
Mhm.
And if I have to spend 20,000 plus dollars on IVF, then I don't want to waste my money on IUIs.
We looked at the statistics as well, and we're like, if we're gonna spend this much money, we're just gonna do the thing that is supposedly supposed to work better.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the time when we got three different semen analysis diagnoses, I was like, I don't know which one to believe either. So I do now looking back, think that first one was a one off because, through each IVF process, they tested my husband, looked at
Mhm.
all the sperm, and everything was always fine. They always
Mhm.
told us that the sperm looked great. He's an overachiever in all of those departments. So that is why we went just immediately to IVF. And
Mhm.
same thing, like I said, I went into it just thinking it was all going to work and be fine and that I
Mhm.
wasn't going to have to do this multiple times. So that was a shocker. Oh, go ahead. Did you have
I
something?
was just thinking, and I know we already mentioned it, but I just thought IVF meant baby. Like I
Yeah.
didn't hear about the people who did IVF that didn't work. In fact, now that I think about that, when we were going into that, I don't remember knowing anybody. And maybe I did know, I was just like focusing on the ones that it worked. So it was like,
Yeah.
this, of course, this is going to work.
I actually, before we got on here, tried to do a Google search on the statistics. I know you said the Child Free Collective. I
Yes.
tried to look through her Instagram too to see if she had that stat, and I couldn't find it. But all I was getting was IVF success rates. That was the
Yep.
only thing that would pop up. So there, as far as I know, they don't know how many couples or women have gone through IVF and not had success.
And the way the information was presented to me, which I get because we went to a private clinic, so it wasn't like they were looking for our money. They
Mhm.
were just telling us the success rates. But we, again, I wasn't even like in a space to hear this not
Same.
working. Like it was like, this is going to work. So I don't
Yeah.
even want to talk about the other parts.
And especially because we were unexplained in the end.
Hmm.
Like I'm same thing. I'm like, there's nothing blatantly wrong with us. So we just need a little bit of intervention and it's gonna be
Yes.
fine. So then I had a bunch of questions about fibroids, and apparently fibroids are a big part of my problem. However, fibroids do not, if you're a person that can get pregnant naturally, fibroids are not necessarily going to affect a pregnancy. I actually had the
Oh,
first surgeon that I went to, he was an OBGYN. And I said, I need to have this fibroid removed when they found the one in the lining of my uterus. And he was like, why? And I was like, because I'm doing fertility treatments and they told me I have to have it removed. And he's like, but I have a lot of patients with fibroids that can get pregnant.
oh.
So, as far as I know, fibroids do not cause infertility or problems. I do know that they can be pretty big and uncomfortable. I've known
Hmm.
of people who have had fibroids the size of a grapefruit, which is
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
And none of mine were ever that big. But the reason that one was an issue was because it was protruding the lining of my uterus
Okay.
inside the uterus. So it
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
pushing on it, causing an abnormality in the lining where an embryo would not attach.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm. That makes
So,
sense.
yeah. So that's why I had to have that one removed. And they are also very difficult to see on an ultrasound.
Oh,
They can
interesting.
see them sometimes, but at least on I'm trying to think, I don't think I ever really had many external ultrasounds. They were all vaginal ultrasounds.
Sure.
There were
I
several
wonder what's
I
going to
had.
happen in 10 years when like medical, especially women's medical issues are like studied a lot more and because they just don't know. There's so many things we
No.
just don't know.
And especially, I feel so bad for teenagers nowadays. Even teenager Tawny, I look back on, I had the most painful periods of my,
Oh,
I'd thrown up from the pain. I
oh
had
my
passed out from the
goodness.
pain, and they're still very painful, but I've just figured out how to manage them now.
Sure.
But back then, if you go to, and even now, I think if you go to an OB and you say, I'm 15 years old, I'm not sexually active, but I'm having a horrendous period, they go, here's a birth control pill. There's
Ah.
no investigation into what is causing this horrendous period. And I think that is absolutely insane.
Hmm. And I think it's going to change. I hope it's going to change.
I
I feel
hope
like
so
there's
too.
money probably being put into it, but just like hearing that these machines can't see very well. It's 2024. What do you mean they can't see very well?
Yeah, maybe if you did like an MRI or something. Well, I'm going to
That's
choose an
invasive like that. Yeah,
ultrasound over an
exactly. Yes,
MRI.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I had that one surgery and he went in and he took out like six. Now, none
Wow.
of those were protruding on the lining of my uterus. He
Hmm.
was just looking for endometriosis and all the things. And he just said, I'm going to clean everything out. But prior to that, prior to him going in there surgically, I had no idea that I had that many.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
And they can be induced by the hormones. So I think
Mm.
that was part of the problem with the one that I had to have removed from the lining of my uterus was I think it came on doing egg retrieval meds.
Oh.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And that
Hmm.
because that it was when I went in for like baseline to start a transfer cycle. And they're like, oh no, we can't do it because you need that removed.
My gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So they are definitely induced by hormones. I think some people will get them, some people won't. Apparently, I'm
Hmm.
very prone to them.
Well, and I always think about how, like, when you were just talking about these fibroids and that people can still get pregnant with them when they say, oh, if you're obese or oh, if you're stressed. stress and obese people still get pregnant. So it's, I get that's like maybe a part of it, but also clearly it's not the only thing that's happening here.
Oh yeah, and that argument can spiral real quick because
Real quick.
about the homeless drug addicts on the street that can get pregnant, but I'm not allowed to have cheese.
I know. And it's so wild when you're in that position of I gave up coffee, I gave up cheese,
Mhm.
I gave up all the things I'm supposed to give up, and it still didn't work out. And it's okay. So clearly there was something else going on, but it's here nor there now. But it was definitely a thing in my life for so long.
Yeah, so I'll take that into that was another question I got was supplements and diet related.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on a gajillion different supplements. I've spent a shit ton of money on supplements, on all the things. And I tried all the different diets. I tried the Mediterranean diet. I
Mm-hmm.
tried keto. It was, what is the modified version of keto? I guess I
Like
did.
Whole30 or
Yeah, maybe something more like that. It wasn't like full on keto, but
yeah.
low carb, but not
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
fully cutting them out. Anyways, and then the most recent one, because the doctor that I had last year was very big on the carnivore diet. I tried that as well. So I tried all the things. They do recommend that if you do supplements and diet changes to do it for about 3 months. Is that what you heard too?
Mm-hmm.
Prior
Yep.
to
Mm-hmm.
doing your IVF cycle?
We did it. Honestly, I did a lot of that before doing IVF, just
Yeah.
trying to get pregnant
Yeah,
naturally
that's what I
because
mean. Oh.
and it didn't work. We started with a high fiber. I remember my husband was
Mhm.
like so not on board for this. Like he was like,
Yeah.
I don't
Mm.
want to change my diet. And I was like, we have to do something because I have to feel like I have some
Yes.
sort of control over this.
Yes. Yes.
And we stopped drinking and we went on like a high fiber diet. Then we did keto and then we got really into Whole30 and I gave up sugar and caffeine. And
Yep.
I remember probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago when I threw away my supplements, I had a whole cupboard full of
Oh, I
them.
just recently did that.
And it was weird I was trying all of the things and it felt good to throw it away, honestly, because I was like, I can get it out of my life. And also I have more cupboard space.
Yeah. Yeah. So much more. I had a bin in my closet, which I kept some of the stuff that wasn't expired yet that could be general health stuff
hmm
too. I'm like,
I got rid
well, I
of
don't
it.
want to waste the money on this.
I feel like I had to get rid of it all. It was triggering to me. Like even like
Mhm.
a daily woman's vitamin. Recently, my
Mhm.
doctor was like, "You need to be on a daily woman's vitamin." And I was like, "Okay, I just have some PTSD with this." And he was like,
Yes.
"I understand that, but like maybe get a different brand." And I was like, "Oh, that's actually a really good idea." And so I'm on one again, but it like I had to like work through taking a supplement again because I was so reminded of how many I would take and what I was expecting to come out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally feel that because I felt the same. I was recently, so I went and got rid of a bunch and then I was like, I'll take some of these because they're good daily stuff. But
Yeah.
then I find myself just not taking them. And I wonder if that's like a deep rooted, I haven't dealt with that aspect yet, but I just took so many things
Yeah.
every day for so long that it's so nice to not have to worry about it.
It's so nice. There's more room in your brain to think about other
Yeah.
things besides, did I take all my supplements today? Because maybe I'd get pregnant.
Also, let's talk about the timing of some of that stuff. If you
Oh
go
my
do a deep
gosh.
dive into that, like when you have to take like vitamin D with a fat soluble food, like I want to just be able to take it in the morning and take it at night and be
Yep.
done and not have to like, because then we're not huge breakfast people during the week while we're working. I'll grab something quick or I'll just go to work and then I'll eat my lunch at 11 or 12 or whatever. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I can't take this vitamin until I have my lunch. And then I'm at work and I have my lunch and I forget to take the vitamin. And then it's
hmm
dinner time and you're not supposed to take it before bed. And it's just like
It takes over every
infuriating.
aspect of your
Yeah.
life, every single aspect.
And that's just the supplements.
I know that's just like the stuff that's not even prescribed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Although I feel like I took the prescription stuff a little more seriously.
oh, I definitely did. And like the color coding of it, I remember I was just talking to a fertility doctor recently about this and how I felt so in control of the highlighted things. And it was like, I'm checking off all the things. Like, of course, this is going to work because I was given a spreadsheet and
Well, I
I'm
made my
checking off.
sister make me one time.
It's, there's so many aspects to it that just take over everything. And it's wild to think the amount of energy and work you put into something and it doesn't turn out the way you want. It's, oh, okay. And for me, this was like one of the first experiences of my life of this happening in this
Same.
magnitude.
Same. Yeah. Yeah. And that was part of the conversation I had with my husband the other night too. I was just like, I hate how consuming this is. And I do not know how to shut it off. I don't
Mhm.
know, because every month I still get my period and I still haven't quite figured out how to not go through that hope cycle, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm so in tune with my body now.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I get a period. First, it's devastating. And then I'm like, okay, this is another chance, another month, another chance. And I'm not like actively tracking ovulation and doing the ovulation test predictors and taking my temperature and all those things like I was doing before. But I'm very aware of my body at this point after 8+ years of
Yes.
paying attention to every little thing that happens. But then you had ovulation and you're like, okay, it's another chance. We're gonna have lots of sex and we're gonna do this. And then you get closer and closer to your period and you're like, oh, a couple days past the last cycle, because my periods are not specific, like every 28 days. It's
Okay.
a little
Yeah.
bit varying.
Hmm. Hmm.
24, 25, 26, sometimes 30. It's
Hmm.
feeling feisty. But yeah. And so then I'm just like, oh, maybe. And in the past, I would have jumped to taking a pregnancy test like right away. And now I'm just like, no, I'm going to wait till I'm at like a 40-day cycle
Sure.
before I do any of that.
It's,
Because it eventually comes.
I had my gynecologist when I told her that we had stopped trying. She was like, are you going to, what sort of birth control are you going to do? And I was
Mm,
like, I'm not doing that. Like you mentioned how you were on it for a very long time. I was also on birth control for a very long time. And she was like, then is he going to wear a condom? And I was like, no. And then for a while, we were like, if it happens, but
mhm.
I stopped thinking about it. And I was just discussing this with a friend, and they're like, I couldn't, he had to get a vasectomy. Like I couldn't stop. And I was like, yeah, it's like a mind shift. And sometimes if you can't get there and you don't feel comfortable, I guarantee if I didn't feel comfortable, I would have pushed for my husband to have a vasectomy. But I just don't think I'm knocking on wood, but which is weird to say, but I don't think it's going to happen anymore.
And that was the conversation we were having, because my husband's, until one of us doesn't have the parts or isn't,
Yeah.
one of the parts isn't working, it could still happen. And I'm like, but literally, if I hold on to that little glimmer of hope,
Yeah. It's a slippery
I
slope.
will never be able to shut it off. And I
Yeah.
don't want it to be all consuming anymore. I
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
don't. And I have people that are like, just relax and just stop thinking about it and then you'll get pregnant. I'm like, how does one stop thinking about it after this amount of time?
Yeah. And I did stop thinking about it and wish I'm not pregnant. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it took a lot of work for me to get comfortable with not like stopping tracking it was a big thing for me. And now I track it just around my ovulation just because my ovulation is very painful. So like I know when it's
Mm.
happening. And when I'm like, oh, we're not having sex now because
Oh yeah.
that's my form of birth control these days. But we never got pregnant without IVF. His sperm count is not getting any stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a weird way to live life so differently. Like I went to
Yeah.
the doctor recently and they were like, when was your last period? And I was like, oh. And I was seeing this doctor for a while and she was like, you need to track it. And I know that you don't like, she knows my history and she's like, maybe don't get an app, write it on the calendar or something, but I just need to know. And I'm like, okay.
I
But
do
wow.
track that. I do put it into an app just for
Mhm.
that reason. Cause I go to the doctor and they're like, oh, when was your last period? And
Yes.
but
In fact, I went to get like it was some sort of like plaque test for my cholesterol. And it was like a full body scan. And the lady was like, I need to know. And I was like, I should start it any day. Like I can feel it. And she was like, I don't know if we should go through with this. And I was like,
mm,
it took me 6 months to get this appointment. We're
mm,
going through with this. And I could see the hesitation. And I was like, I don't want to like vomit all my trauma right now, but like,
yeah.
I know I'm not pregnant. I need to have this appointment right now.
Yeah.
And I get her concern.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. I think it was one of the fibroid surgeries I went for. They always do a pregnancy test before they
Mhm.
send you into surgery. And literally the nurse that I had, I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of just extremely insensitive because it was just a hospital, right? Like she had no idea why I was having this fibroid removed or anything, but it was something like, oh, we wouldn't want that or something like that. And I was just like, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
If you told me I was pregnant before the surgery, you would have made my entire life.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty terrible. Let's see. Another question I had was why I was on immune suppressants. The thought process behind all of that is that your body's immune system is not recognizing an embryo as a baby, and it is recognizing it as a foreign object and therefore attacking it before
Totes.
it can
Mm-hmm.
grow. So now I don't know if I was never like actually tested for anything like that. I don't think that exists, but I think they just do it now for people who have had multiple failed cycles. Let's put you on the strong immune suppressant, anti-inflammatory, all the things. And you actually, if you do end up pregnant, you take those things to 12 weeks. And that's about when your body goes, okay, I know what this is.
Mm-hmm. Is this like something that maybe somebody would get, like if they have an autoimmune disease? Do you
Yeah.
know? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Because a lot of it was all that kind of stuff
Yes.
that people take daily for some. Like I was
Right.
on low dose naltrexone, and I know that's one that
Mm-hmm.
can treat a lot of different things. And prednisone, I was on as maybe more of an anti-inflammatory. And then I was doing IVIG
I don't know what that is. I
infusions.
heard that on your podcast. I don't know what that is.
And I'm going to sound really dumb because I should probably know more about it, but it's an immune suppressant
Okay. Okay.
infusion. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would go into the fertility clinic and it's like a 2 to 3 hour infusion that you sit there for. They hook you up to an IV and drip the stuff into your veins. And
Mm-hmm.
they gave me all sorts of precautions, like it can cause migraines and stuff
Mm.
like that throughout the day. So they were like, drink lots of water, take some
Mm-hmm.
ibuprofen, like all these things. I was doing that. I was doing intralipid infusions as well, which
Mm-hmm.
is, I think it's a bunch of fat cells and stuff like that. Because I think if you're allergic to soy, you can't do it. So there must be some
Oh,
soy-based stuff in it too. But that
sure.
one was like a 15-minute long one.
And I've heard, I did not experience that, but I've heard a lot of people in the community mention that word. And I'm like,
Mhm.
it sounds fancy.
Yeah. I think the IVIG is a lot fancier because it's a lot more expensive.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's the idea behind that is that for people who've had multiple miscarriages or multiple failed implantations, which is
Hmm.
pretty much what I've had, then they try the immune suppressant stuff. But that had its downsides for sure.
Hmm.
I got the shingles, which was
Oh
horrendous.
yeah, hearing that was like, oh my gosh.
Still have the scars on my arm, which is also very
Oh,
triggering. Surprising
yes.
trigger right there.
Surprising trigger. Yes.
Yeah, I one day, I think it was shortly after my last failed embryo transfer, and I was just in the shower. It was, I don't know, maybe a few days or a week after or something. And I just was washing my arm that has all the scars on it. And I just started bawling because it was because it
Mm-hmm.
was a reminder of
Yep.
all the shit I've put my body through and for nothing. That was the next thing I was going to go into is surprising triggers. What surprising triggers have you had?
I think probably 2 years after we stopped trying, I had like really intense stomach pain and I had to go to the hospital. They thought it was like my gallbladder or appendicitis. It turned out to be just gas. But we spent thousands and thousands of dollars to figure that
Oh,
out. But I
yeah.
remember the first time they were doing an ultrasound and I burst into tears. I remember I was wearing a
Mhm.
mask and I was lying and like my tears kept like collecting in my mask and the poor tech was like, "Am I hurting you?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "Do I say it?" And I was like, "I just had
Mm.
a really intense ultrasound experience." And she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "It's okay." But that didn't expect that. I think I had a lot of friends that I was pregnant around the same time as my
Oh, yeah.
multiple different pregnancies. And like seeing those kids have milestones is really hard. That's a big one. Specifically with family, a lot of time I have a hard time with my nieces, like when they're
Oh, really?
milestones, which is a bummer, but it's also super real. And because I
Mhm.
love them dearly, It's just that was around our time when we were trying. And it was always like we were going to raise they were going to have cousins the same age and like
Yeah.
have that vibe. And so that has been specifically hard.
I think that's a tough one for me as far as like my friends' kids go,
Mm.
especially the ones like I was telling you earlier that were like, "Hey, now it's your turn. Like I'm pregnant, now it's your turn." And now their kids are like 6 years old and in school, and I'm like, still they haven't gotten there.
Yeah, absolutely. And since I was a teacher, I envisioned how I'd be as a mom to another teacher, and that was really hard. And that wasn't the reason I quit teaching, but it was like in when I made the
Mm,
pros and cons list, it was on the con side of this isn't the life I thought I was going to live.
yeah, for sure.
Um, Surprisingly enough, like my husband has had a lot of surprise triggers the past few
Oh,
years.
okay.
And I think I mentioned in our other episode about how he didn't really give space for himself to feel a lot of emotions, but now that we're years out, he feels it. And
Interesting.
like somebody recently was like, we met somebody and they asked if we had kids, and he just shot me that look. And I was like, no, we don't. And I'm like, and I think also he doesn't get asked nearly as much as I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, guys don't talk
So
about it the same way.
no, they
So,
sure don't. And I like he works on a construction site, and recently a bunch of the guys were like, who don't know his story, were like, you gotta have kids. And he came home so mad. And I was like, I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me, but like I see you in this pain and it is not fun. And I'm on my way to I'm getting close to 50. Like I'm not having kids. Like this isn't
yeah.
where we're at anymore. But they were like, you could adopt. And he was like, I couldn't believe somebody said that to me. And I'm like, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband was a part of a conversation at a wedding, at a friend's wedding several years ago. It was him and three other friends that he's known since high school. One of them has one kid. Another one had at the time four. The other one had, I think, his third on the way. And the two with the multiple kids were giving the one with one kid grief for not
Mhm.
wanting to have more. They only wanted the one. And my husband, who we have been going through infertility, so we do not have kids, not of our own choice, also is an only child. And
Oh.
so he was trying to like
Hmm?
join the conversation to some degree. And he was like, only child. And I turned out fine. And I think was half like a joking thing and stuff like
Yeah.
that too. And one of the friends with the multiple kids looked at him and was like, well, you wouldn't know. And
Oh,
I
that
didn't know, I wasn't a
is
part of this conversation. I would have lost my freaking shit in
uh-huh.
this
Uh-huh.
conversation if I was there. But he told me about it later, and I was like, what?
Oh.
Because whether that was in reference to him being an only child or our fertility, I don't think it was towards our fertility problems because I think that would have been extremely insensitive. But either way, it's not nice.
No, it's not nice. Absolutely. Like we all have different experiences that can bring valid contribution to the conversation.
Yeah, yeah. And then also don't give the guy with one kid crap for
Exactly.
wanting more. Like, it's just
It
like,
never ends.
yeah.
I have made friends with some older child-free women, and they're like, people will start asking about your grandkids, and it just kind of
Mm,
never ends. And I was like, oh, I never even thought about that. And they're like, I didn't either until I became that age, and people
uh,
asked.
so tough.
So
So
tough.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I talked in my solo episode about the wedding that I went to. That was a
Yes.
surprising trigger to just sit there and like when you're talking about milestones, I think that's one of those. That
Mhm.
wasn't even anybody, there was no kids
Right.
involved in that whatsoever, but it was like, oh, I want to be able to do that someday, and I'm
Hmm.
not going to be able to. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is the amount of things that flash in front of your eyes that you could have had that you're never going to
Hmm.
have. It's not just the possibility of having kids or not having kids. Like it's just the whole life that you thought you
Hmm.
would have
Hmm.
that
And
is
everything
gone.
changes. Yeah,
Mhm,
everything changes. Like that's not something that I'm going to get to experience. And
mhm.
it wasn't planned, and it's really sad. And I know people would respond like, you get to do this and that. Correct. But society really celebrates parents,
Mm,
and it's really hard because I love a celebration. It's really hard not to be included in that traditional life that I wanted.
yeah. 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 And I wish that our society would change a little bit with that. I wish that we could
I feel like the younger
Not
generation aren't having as many kids, but still, I think it's got a long way to
And
go.
not that parenthood shouldn't be
Oh,
celebrated.
no, no,
Not
no,
what I'm
no.
saying
Mm-mm.
at all. I understand that parenthood is a very difficult thing. It is, I give everybody props that does it. I 100% acknowledge that it is not easy. It's not maybe the fairy tale version that I have in my head, but it does deserve to be celebrated. But I also don't think that it should make those of us that don't have kids feel less than.
And at the moment, I feel like we're at a stage in our culture where that is the case.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something I'm really struggling with right now, too, is when I talk to people about, because everybody's curious what I'm going to be doing next or if I'm going to do anything next, because I haven't fully said, I'm done, no more. I'm going to accept the child-free life. I haven't quite gotten to that stage yet. I feel like I'm leaning more that direction than others. The only other thing that my husband and I would entertain is adoption. But at this point in time, I don't want to spend the money. I can't handle the emotional aspect of it. I recently had somebody that was like, what if it works out? I'm like, yeah, but also I know stories where it hasn't. And it's a roller coaster in itself too, just like IVF. And I don't want to go into it naive to the fact like I did with IVF.
Absolutely.
Put myself through that trauma again. But I'm starting to feel judgment for that. Or
Like, oh, you're
not,
not trying enough and
or
you're
I
not.
don't want it bad enough.
I felt that for sure because to this day, clearly we still get you should adopt, but we didn't because of the emotional toll. And my therapist even was like, I'm not sure if this is going to be the right choice for you. And I was like,
Mhm.
I feel that, but I feel like I almost felt like I needed permission to not do it because
Mhm.
I wanted it so badly and felt like I have to do everything. But then when we started the process and we saw the statistics in our space of not working out, I was like, I can't do this again.
You did start the process of adoption.
Yes, we did. We filled out paperwork and we met. My therapist was also an adoption placement person. And so she took us through the process and we went to like her other office and the emotional maturity that I no longer had in that space of losing a child was I immediately was like, I don't think this is for me. Like
Mhm.
I felt it be like, this is too volatile, like it's not stable enough for me. And I have two very close people in my life that did, and this was all the foster to adopt because we couldn't afford private adoption, which they don't even really do in our state anymore.
Mm.
But we had spent so much money in other areas trying to become
Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
that we're like, okay, we'll look into the foster to adopt. And their goal was reunification. And they're like,
Mm.
we're going to try do our best. We're going to be contacting grandparents, second cousins,
Yep.
anybody to get this kid back with their family. And I was like, I can't get attached. Like I can't. And then I felt like a bad person because I
Mm.
couldn't do that. And was like, and my therapist was like, you don't have to do this. Like there's
Yeah.
no one is making you do this. You have spent quite a bit of time of your life trying to fill this role of motherhood and you don't have to take this path. And I was like, okay. And I also remember her saying, if you did though, you probably would be a mother. It might take years and years. And I
Mm.
was like, I did that. Like I did the years and years
Yeah.
of emotional toll and I didn't want to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband recently said to me that he would do anything that I wanted to, because I had said, there's been things in the last, our last failed embryo transfer was last November.
Okay.
At the time of this recording, it is June, the following June, so not terribly long time.
Yeah.
There's been things that have crossed my, you know, I guess crossed my plate that are like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
try me.
Yeah. Because
This
there's
might
still
work.
other options.
Yeah, and it's little things that we could do to potentially up our chances of getting pregnant naturally. Because I am definitely, I have decided I am absolutely not going to continue IVF or fertility treatments in that regard. So the only things that I would do would be small little procedures or something that might help
Mm-hmm.
us
Mm-hmm.
naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, I was like, I've been afraid to bring these things up to you
Mm-hmm.
because I'm afraid of the immediate shutdown because I don't want him to
Mm-hmm.
just be like, you know what, I just can't do any of this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so he said, you can always bring it up to me. And he said, I am down to do whatever you want if you can handle it emotionally. Those
Mm-hmm.
weren't his exact words, but that is how I'm paraphrasing.
Yes.
Because he said he doesn't want us to go through that and then have me. I'm going through this healing process now, and he says that I've come a long way. I think haven't come that far, but I'm grateful for him for saying that. But he's, oh, you've come so far. I don't want you to go through this. You get your hopes super up, and then we go backwards. He's, if we can do this with lower expectations or not getting as wrecked in the end or being okay with the end result being no, then I'm down. And I was like, I don't, at this point in time, that is probably not something I can do.
Right. And I think that's super real. And my husband was very much the same way of whatever, like I follow your lead.
Mhm.
And I was like, I can't. I knew I couldn't emotionally do it. I was so sad. Like I was just like I was sad and I knew that I was done being that sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how I feel right now. That's the tiredness that I experience. Like I'm so exhausted from feeling all of those feelings and being angry. And yeah, I feel like if I keep perpetuating the process, if I still don't get the happy ending, which is also really hard for me to attach to at this point because I've been
Absolutely.
disappointed so many times. I can't, I don't want to be back there. When I think back on all the fertility treatments and the failed cycles, and it's too hard to want to throw myself into that again.
Yeah. And I forgot what it felt like to be happy. To feel happy felt
Mm,
scary. Like it felt like I just hadn't felt it for so long that I didn't know how to accept it and feel like it was like, all right, something's gonna happen. I always felt like like the other shoe was gonna drop, something bad's gonna happen. That's just how I was living my life for so long that it took me like literally years to get out of that mindset.
yeah.
And I am sure I thought that having a baby would fix that. And I don't think that it fixed that. I think that having a baby makes life even more difficult, but I still tried to get there for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, my dear friend that I still am close with who has her two kids, she said she still finds out about
Yeah.
friends who got pregnant oopsie or on a 1 month try or whatever. And she said she still gets of everything she had to go through to get to that. Yeah, I don't think it fixes the problem. And that's
Mm.
the other thing is, okay, now I'm also facing, okay, let's say we decide to do adoption and then I have a kid in the end and I'm a mess emotionally.
Yeah.
And now I have to put all my time and energy into this little being, as you
Mm-hmm.
should.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then how much worse off do you end up yourself too?
It's you never know
Yeah,
until you're in
sure.
it. And I feel like that's how one of the biggest thing I've taken away from all of this is that I never know how I would really feel until I'm experiencing that. And I think this crosses into many aspects of life, child free or not. And I did surprise myself of how like strong I came out of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to be this strong. Like I didn't want
Yeah.
to be this like, oh, I can make it through all this grief and still support other people. But I am, but I wouldn't have chosen that. I
Yeah.
would still rather have chosen the everything falls in order and I'm not learning all the lessons.
Yeah, lessons are good in the end,
Yes.
for sure. And yeah, silver lining, I have learned so much about myself.
Hmm.
I've learned so much about the person I want to be and don't want to be. That's definitely still work in progress. Like
Same.
the
Yes.
compassion that I've learned, the empathy, because even if people aren't going through infertility, they're going through shit.
Absolutely. Yes. This is just our shit that we get to
Yeah.
go through.
Yeah. And I think I actually just posted something on Instagram today that was like, everyone has their shit.
Yes.
Everybody's going through it. Everybody has something. And I think just recognizing that. And I think I have a lot more compassion and
Hmm.
grace for people who are going through hard stuff in the moment. And they're,
Absolutely.
even if their behaviors and actions are not great or
Hmm.
not very nice, like I have a little bit, I'm like, they are going through this grief or they're going through this loss or they're going through whatever. And so I like having that understanding more.
Yes, yeah, could because being a human is really difficult.
Yeah. And if you've not been through anything traumatic, Not to say you don't understand, but it's
Also,
it's very different. Just looking at
yes.
Connie pre-trauma.
I was a different person.
So yeah,
And
very
I feel like
different.
if you haven't been through anything traumatic, get ready because it's coming.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it comes for everybody.
Yeah. Life doesn't stay easy for forever.
No, it doesn't.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
So let's see. Do you have any other questions? I was
I
gonna
don't think so. I think
make
we covered
sure.
the topics that I wanted to discuss.
What do you wish you knew going into this journey?
So I have a hard time with this question because I know younger me would have been like, I don't care what you have to say. That was very much my attitude, which is something I've learned to not actually actively respond the same way. But I think if I would have listened, I would have wanted to know maybe more about the great parts about being child-free after infertility or just being child-free in general, because that was never even considered as a happy life. That was
Mm,
genuinely, I thought was going to be my nightmare. And but on the flip side of that, I did have people in my life that were like this. I just refused to look at it
yeah.
because I was like, that's not going to be me. So why should I invest my time and energy in that?
Yeah.
So I give myself grace for that because why would I have like strayed off the path?
Yeah.
But it took a lot of work to love where I'm at because I felt
Mm,
like a failure for a really long time.
yeah. Yeah. I feel that real deep right now. Yeah, I think I wish that I would have known that IVF wasn't a guarantee.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
think that I agree with everything you just said too. I think that
mm-hmm.
maybe not having the fear of not working would have made it a little bit, I don't know, maybe
I
not.
know that's
It's
you
so
don't
easy to
know.
say now,
Totes,
but
yes.
I do wish that I would have known that IVF wasn't a guarantee. And it's funny because they do give you the statistics when you go in the office. Like I remember every office having the statistics, but it just never crossed my mind that it wouldn't work. And I
Yep.
remember one time that my husband had said early on in the process, if we don't have kids, it's fine. And I was mad.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I bawled. I was
Mm-hmm.
mad. I was
Mm-hmm.
angry. I was like, no, that's not an option.
Mm-hmm. My
Here we
husband said the
are.
same thing, and I said the same exact like that. How could you even say that kind of
Yeah.
thing?
Mhm.
But it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. And then now I'm just like, I
Uh-huh.
can't keep doing it. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of pursuing this thing that is just causing me heartbreak over and
Yes.
over.
I
So,
think that was a big thing for me too, is I was tired of breaking my own heart. I felt
yeah.
like it was like I'm choosing this
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I wish. In addition to not having being fearful of the end, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't work out, it's going to be okay. Because
Mm-hmm.
really,
It is okay. And I didn't even think I was gonna do IVF in like the first times
mhm,
of young me. I was like, no, if I don't, because again, I didn't think that I had to be a mother. That wasn't like you
yeah.
mentioned that in the beginning of this episode of I didn't have that. My only goal is to be a mother.
Hmm.
But then once it became my goal and I couldn't get it, it absolutely was like there's no other option for me.
That's really interesting because I definitely feel that as well. I feel like it was very similar. And I wonder what the psychology is behind that.
I know for me, when I say I want to do something, I follow through. I'm a big follow througher.
You're a
And I
doer.
love, yes, and I love a goal and I love breaking down a goal. So to me, this was just like, okay, this goal is just going to be a little bit more difficult to get to. Let's just break it into smaller steps so I can still reach the club of motherhood.
Yeah.
But there was no space for what if you don't. But also that's okay because I feel like that's part of how I got to be where I'm at today.
Sure. Yeah.
And while it sucked, it's okay. I survived that. So there's some other things I would like to set my sights on.
And your marriage survived that too. There's a lot of marriages
Yes.
that don't survive it. I honestly, at this point in time, I feel very grateful that I have never been closer than I am now with my husband, emotionally and everything. And this could have absolutely wrecked our marriage. And I know it has for many people. And I feel for those people because I don't think I could handle the loss that I've gone through and then losing my marriage on top of it. So,
Hmm. I feel like I could handle it. I just don't want to.
yes, you're right. I would get through it, but it just
Yeah.
seems like so much more loss. And
Yes.
he's the one person, even though he's a man and it's very different for him than it is for us women going through it. I think just because we process very differently
Yes.
and have a different perspective on it. But he's the only person that's walked it with me,
I think he knows
hand in hand.
so much about this. Yeah. And I
Hmm.
feel like the when I've dealt with like other tragedies after infertility, the kind of grief compounds to where it brings up so many other things. And when it comes up to where it's, is this really about this thing? Or is it
Mm,
still about this past thing that I'm dealing with? And so that's,
interesting.
I feel like I'm in a space where I'm right now of, okay, I'm trying, but I feel like that's life because I can't just put this grief in this box and this grief in that box and be like, they're separate. That's not how that works. I have
Yeah.
to be like, ooh, it's bringing up this and it's pulling on these strings that I have to still work with.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. Uh, grief is such a whole I told you I want to have an episode with you on grief.
Yes.
We need to do
Yes.
that because
Yes.
so many people are experiencing so many different kinds of grief. And I feel like we could
Hmm.
just talk for another hour about that. What do you do to cope with work through your grief?
So I acknowledge a lot of it. I think being very open, and I like to say I love my story because it's mine and I
Mm.
don't get a different life. So I don't want to hate this experience because it's made me who I am.
Yeah.
And so I will do a lot of, I like to either write or do a lot of art to express it in different ways and try different mediums and things. Like I'll specifically go to a class, like an art class, and be like, okay, I want to draw my grief or something like that. And so I almost like intentionally force it.
Hmm.
Force might be a strong word because I feel it every day. So it's not like
Yeah.
I'm forcing anything, but I definitely try to tend to it and nurture it. Like gardening is a big one for me because I get to take care of something and I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
look, something gets to grow and I did that.
Yeah.
And so I think exploring ways to nurture myself and getting really curious about it, like trying lots of new things. I'm not an expert at any of my art pieces, but I love to just try new things out because I get to find new parts about myself through that.
I think it's so interesting that creativity is such a healing thing
Mm-hmm. Yes.
because there's not a whole lot of other things out there that you could say. It's very artistic,
Mm-hmm.
and being creative seems to be very healing
Mm-hmm.
to all different types of people and all
Yes.
different types of healing. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things that I do right now. And I also don't want to set in stone of this is what's going to fix my healing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think in the beginning I thought that, oh, therapy's going to do it. And then my therapist was like, I think you're in a good spot to graduate. And I was like, I am not prepared for that. And she was like, you can come, but like you're coming once a week and you're doing all the things. You just now need to go fly. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's another thing my husband said is you're looking for a quick fix in all of these books and all of these
Mhm.
things that you're doing, and you're doing the work. It's just not going to be quick. And I'm
Well,
like,
and I think that
ugh.
because I've read a lot of books, I've taken a lot of classes, and I feel like the accumulation of all of them together is what's helping me. Of like, oh yeah, I remember that, so I'll try this, and like having tools in my
Yeah.
pocket to use. I'll
Mhm.
never forget though, one time one of my friends was like, "You have all the tools, you've had all the tools, but maybe don't live a life to where you're using all the tools daily." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Damn." I feel like you're saying maybe I don't need to be a mother, which was like offensive, but it was like,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm reading. Do you know who Jamie Kern Lima is? The girl who
No.
started It Cosmetics.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Oh, she's fascinating. She spoke at a hairstylist event I was at a couple years ago, and it was so inspiring.
Mm.
She wrote a book that I'm reading right now called Worthy, and it's all about finding your
Ooh.
self-worth. And it's tough for me to get through.
Yep.
Like
I bet.
I've gotten really far into it and I'm very close to the end, but I have found it harder and harder to pick up because
Hmm.
I'm just like, I don't know how to find this. And she's
Uh-huh.
telling me all the things to do, and I still don't know how to get to this.
And that's okay.
Yeah. It will be, I'll put that in my back pocket at the end
Uh-huh.
and I'll work towards it. But yeah,
It's
it's
real though.
yeah, really real. All right. I think that was most of my questions. Let me see. I don't think I've had any other ones. Do you have anything else you want to discuss?
I think we covered all the notes that I had.
Yeah, I think we did good. This was a lot of information for those
Yes.
out there. But I do want to, first of all, thank you, Carrie, for coming and having this chat with me. This was a lot of fun, actually. And
I
it's
agree.
actually very therapeutic for me as well, because talking about it, I'm somebody that talking about it releases stuff. So it
Same.
helps me. And then also knowing that I'm not alone, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry that you have gone through all of this as well, but it is so nice to know that there are other people out there having this similar struggle, because it seems like most people have their happy ending. So,
Well, I have to say that is an honor to hear you say that, because these days that's been like one of my main goals of, I'm just going to share that I feel all of these kind of terrible things and
yeah,
that it's okay.
yeah. Yeah. And then eventually, hopefully, we don't feel those terrible things
Yeah.
anymore. But we'll
Absolutely.
just go through that for now.
Yes.
And then I just wanted to say thank you so much to everybody out there that listened to my episode, because I have had so many people reach out and say very kind things and acknowledge how difficult this has been. And some people were like, oh my God, I had no idea that it was that much, because we don't dive into the specifics with every single person.
And you don't often go into it in the moment, because so it's a very special thing that you shared what you went through, for sure.
Yeah. I hope that somebody else, if there's anybody else listening that's struggling with the same stuff, maybe they find they're not alone as well. I will put our Instagram handles and contacts and everything in the show notes for this. So if anybody does feel like they want to reach out, please do.
Please do.
At least. Yeah.
Yes. Same. Please do for me. Yes.
So yeah, thanks everybody for listening to this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. And again, I hope you're not lost if you didn't listen to the episode. It's called My Fertility Journey, I think. So go listen to that one, and then we will have Carrie's episode sometime here in the future, and you'll get to hear more about her story, which will be fantastic, because she's got a pretty great story. Hard story, but
I love it though.
Yeah, good. All right, my dear. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we'll see y'all on the next episode.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in the stories shared, please consider following us on your preferred podcast platform. Your ratings and reviews make a huge difference. They help us reach more listeners and continue bringing you engaging, insightful content. We appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Until next time, keep listening, growing, and sharing.